Then began testing various systems on the spacecraft to confirm readiness for the outbound trip to the moon, and also removed their Orion crew survival system suits to settle in for the journey. About 3 hours into the mission, the crew completed their proximity operations and prox-ops demonstration, which tested Orion's handling systems. And once that demonstration was complete, the ICPS fired its engines again for disposal burn, and Orion continued its higher orbit. Now, the Artemis 2 crew is currently asleep aboard the Orion spacecraft. They began their sleep shift about 3 hours ago and have about 1 hour remaining. Today's sleep shift is split due to the upcoming perigee raise burn, which is scheduled to take place about 2 hours and 7 minutes from now. This burn will adjust Orion's perigee, or the lowest point of its orbit, into the correct orbital geometry to set it up for its translator injection, or TLI burn, planned for flight day 2. And with that, let's go ahead and take a look at the highlights from launch day through the recent prox-ops demonstration.
Welcome, and thank you for joining us live from NASA's Kennedy Space Center, where we are beginning a new chapter in America's human spaceflight story. We are so humbled to have thousands of people here in person to witness this, and the many more watching online from around the world. I'm NASA's Megan Cruz, and this is NASA astronaut Nicole Ayers.
Thanks, Megan. What a historic day to be here.
What a historic day to be here. Obviously, from what we see right behind us here, the SLS rocket and Orion spacecraft on launch pad 39 feet. Artemis 2 is a nearly 10-day flight test to prove NASA can safely fly astronauts around the moon before attempting to land on it in just 2 years, hopefully.
Yes, like you said, it's a test flight, so we're going to put humans on this rocket for the first time ever, and we're going to test out the systems on board and hopefully get around the moon.
And in charge of liftoff today is Launch Director Charlie Blackwell Thompson. She and her team are just across the street from us inside of the Launch Control Center. They kicked off continuous around-the-clock operations just before 5 p.m. on Monday and started fueling the rocket about 4 hours ago.
That capsule also connected to the suit, which then eventually connects into the capsule. Through the umbilical there, so there's a lot of cords and wires. You can see them tucking that cord under his chin right now.
And so the suits they're wearing, they're called the Orion Crew Survival Suits, or OX suits. And so they're worn for launch and reentry or during a high-risk or emergency situation.
I welcome into Fireman 1, a historic fire room here at the Kennedy Space Center in Florida. It's a pleasure and an honor to be here reporting what's happening as we lead up to countdown and liftoff of Artemis 2. So far, looking pretty good. You see the rocket out there on the pad. It is launch day, and we just got that crew weather brief that you were talking about from Launch Director Charlie Blackwell Thompson to the crew. It looks like a countdown at this point is in good shape, and that's great news. Fueling continues to track well. We just reached all stages replenished.
Ellie Whiteman is a Baltimore native. Been in space once before. As flight engineer for Expedition 41 aboard the International Space Station from May through November 2014. And so now here we are, pilot Victor Glover. NASA selected the California native as an astronaut in 2013. At the time, he was actually serving as a legislative fellow in the United States Senate. His first trip to space was in November 2020 when he launched as pilot of NASA's SpaceX Crew 1 mission. That was the first operational mission of NASA's commercial crew program. And so it looks like Christina here has completed her suit leak checks as well, her communication checks too.
If they've already got her gloves off, they're getting ready to just kind of hang out and relax a little bit, I think, before they walk out.
She is a mission specialist for this mission, native of Grand Rapids, Michigan. Was selected to the astronaut corps in 2013. It's actually the same class as Victor. And last but not least, first-time flyer, Canadian Space Agency astronaut Jeremy
crew is woken up, you will hear a little clip of a different song each day. And that tradition of wake up music does date back all the way to the Apollo era. Now that the crew is awake, they are going to step into a brief post-sleep period, and then they will begin preparing for the perigee race burn or PRB burn. That burn is scheduled to take place in just under an hour from now, about 59 minutes until that burn ignition start. Blind views outside of the spacecraft itself. The Orion spacecraft following a liftoff on top of the Space Launch System, or SLS rocket, yesterday, April 1st at 5:35 p.m. Central, 6:35 p.m. Eastern, is now in a high Earth orbit. It's about 43,000 miles away from Earth. For reference, the International Space Station is in low Earth orbit and is typically about 260 statute miles away from Earth at any given time. In the bottom right hand of your screen, you can see a view of the Artemis flight control room here in Mission Control Houston. Currently on console here in the Artemis Flight Control Room is the Orbit 2 team of flight controllers. Similar to the International Space Station Flight Control Room, the Artemis Flight Control Room will be monitored and manned 24/7. There will be 3 orbits of flight controllers for the duration of the Artemis 2 mission. Those 3 shifts are known as orbits. So the Orbit 1 shift came on console following the ascent of the SLS rocket and the Orion spacecraft. Then they handed over to the Orbit 2 team of flight controllers at about 2:30 a.m. Central, 3:30 a.m. Eastern Time. And then shortly after the perigee raise burn or PRB burn is complete, the Orbit 3 team of flight controllers will come on console and take the crew through the remainder of their sleep period before they enter into Flight Day 2 and prepare for the TLI or translator injection burn, which will send Orion and its crew around the moon and back. Again, we are standing by and preparing for that perigee raise burn. That perigee raise burn expected to take place in about 51 minutes from now. This console is This is Mission Control Houston, live from the Artemis Flight Control Room. The Orbit 2 team of flight controllers is currently being led by Flight Director Paul Conyon. The Artemis 2 crew aboard the Orion spacecraft named Integrity is currently awake in a post-sleep period, and then they will begin preparing for the perigee raise burn or PRB operations. In preparation for that burn, again, that burn is scheduled to take place in about 41 minutes. There are going to be some star-fueled maneuvers that take place, and these maneuvers are managed by the GNC, or Guidance, Navigation, and Control Officer here in the Artemis Flight Control Room. This console is responsible for managing inertial measuring units, global positioning system receivers, barometric altimeters, and the position, state, and attitude health of the Orion spacecraft. And they are also responsible for commanding attitude maneuvers. On your screen, you are seeing views from the Artemis Real-Time Orbit website, or ARO, AROW. And this website is available to the public on nasa.gov. And we provide views from this data and telemetry site when we don't have live views from the cameras on board the Orion spacecraft. So currently, the Orion spacecraft is about 43,000 miles from Earth and about 223 miles away from the moon. This is following a launch yesterday, April 1st at 5:35 p.m. Central, 6:35 p.m. Eastern. As the spacecraft completes some of those starfield maneuvers in preparation for the perigee raise burn in about 40 minutes from now, the spacecraft is using its guidance, navigation, and control system to complete those maneuvers, and that system on board Orion is responsible for knowing where the spacecraft is and where it is going, and controls the propulsion system to keep Orion pointed in the proper direction and on the correct trajectory. There are several different guidance, navigation, and control systems that can be used on Orion. It does have a star tracker system. The star tracker operates like a camera, but is very sensitive and takes pictures only of stars. And by comparing the pictures to a known star catalog, the sensor determines spacecraft attitude during orbital operations. Once those starfield maneuvers are complete, there will be some final burn targeting that will take place to ensure that the spacecraft is in the proper attitude for the perigee raise burn. That final burn targeting is slated to take place in about 8 minutes from now.
fly for real. I've been around for a while. I've seen this many times, but yeah, luster never fades. It's always fun to actually fly and see your stuff in operation.
I can only imagine. I'm so excited for your team. Congratulations. And we can't wait to see everything that is to come in the upcoming days. So thank you again so much for joining us, Dave Dunham, Deputy Manager for Orion's Guidance, Navigation, and Control
It's
Systems.
fun. We got 9 more days of fun.
Let's do it. This beautiful view coming from Orion on the Artemis 2 mission and a camera on the spacecraft's solar array wing, looking back at all of us here on Earth. Spacecraft now over 27,000 miles away from our home planet.
for welcoming World Integrity, and we're looking forward to a good rendezvous operation here in a few minutes.
And on that note, Reed, we have the cross-off tab whenever you're ready to copy.
I think give us about 2 minutes, we'll be ready to go.
Standing by.
Welcome to the Artemis Flight Control Room. I'm NASA's Leah Cheshire Mustachio, and I'm excited to be your Orbit 1 commentator. We're hearing some comments from the crew as they are preparing for their proximity operations demonstration. And we have just had, for the first time in over 50 years, humans join the Deep Space Network. And we're used to people being on the Near Space Network, the tracking data relay satellite system with the International Space Station. But again, first time in 50 years that we will have crew traveling far enough to be on that Deep Space Network. These are our first views of the
We are ready for cross-off.
Integrity, all times NET. ICPS maneuvers and steps, attitude. 3 hours, 18 minutes, 34 seconds. ICPS steps. 3 hours, 22 minutes, 24 seconds. ICPS thermal turn. 4 hours, 03 minutes, 34 seconds. Depart no later than 4 hours, 30 minutes, 37 seconds. USS-2 K, 4 hours, 50 minutes, 07 seconds. Mandatory burn. ICPS disposal burn, 5 hours, 00 minutes, 11 seconds. How copy?
Okay, Amy, we copy all, and we are hopping over to 13.1.100 on MPO, and confirm you hear this transmitter loud and clear.
Confirm loud and clear.
Mission Control Houston just pulled go for the Prox Ops demo. And the crew aboard Orion is starting to get into the configuration for that demo. Another live view here in Artemis Mission Control. So with proximity operations coming up, first we will look for separation from the interim cryogenic propulsion stage. That is the stage that propelled us in the perigee raise maneuver and the apogee raise burn.
Amy, we have 20.101 with the ejection open on test 1. We are taking no action. That's what you're moving on.
on the right RHC when you're ready to hear it.
Call you.
25.
As we mentioned, the crew is
Integrity. Tom check from the customer headset connected to seat 1 AIU.
Loud and clear, Victor. Tell me.
Happy to say, thank you.
this view coming live from Orion, now just 3 hours and 10 minutes since liftoff today from Kennedy Space Center. As you heard, Mission Control Houston is go for the crew to conduct the proximity operations demonstration. Again, we will see the separation of the interim cryogenic propulsion stage coming up first in just under 12 minutes. As we saw when we had video of the crew on board, Victor Glover has now moved to seat 1. He launched in seat 2. He has switched places with Reed Wiseman. He is going to be, Victor Glover will be commanding and piloting this portion of the mission. He'll be flying the vehicle, and he has let us know he is going to put the communication system on voice activation. So he's going to be speaking nearly continuously for the next approximately hour and a half so that the ground team can hear crew feedback on what it's like to fly Orion, how it's like the simulator here on Earth, and how it might be different. During the proximity operations demonstration, Glover will use the translational and rotational hand controllers to command Orion, first doing a translation control checkout and roll control checkout. He will get a read of Orion's roll, pitch, and yaw from this commanding. We'll hear calls about targets and degrees of width. There is no rangefinder available between Orion and the interim cryogenic propulsion stage. So this crew is using other data, like how big the upper stage looks outside of the window or through a camera. So the degrees that you'll hear him call out are the width of the target on the screen that he is monitoring. That screen is going to be fed by the docking camera that was set up after launch. The target that he'll be reading initially is the entire ICPS itself. We'll be about 100 meters or 300 feet away from the ICPS. Those degrees are going to be reported as greater on the screen because it's a larger target.
Checking.
Again, we'll start with the ICPS itself being that target. As we get closer, the target switches.
Introduction in progress.
As we get closer to the ICPS conducting these maneuvers, the target that they will be reading back switches to the docking targets that are on the interim cryogenic propulsion stage, as if we were going to fly in and dock. Of course, this is a practice, essentially, for our future Artemis missions in which we will be docking to a lunar lander. Once the initial checkouts are complete, the crew will get a go to move in toward that forward target on the ICPS. They're going to brake at 75 meters, and again at 30 meters,
Okay, Reed, for the right RHC, it looks like it was a single event process. We are now seeing all good channels. We did command a fitter reset from the ground. We do have a quick checkout that you could perform if you feel that you have time.
You're showing on right hand controller. RE.
And we expect that. For the checkout, you're going to confirm CSS is not selected and then do a full deflection positive pitch, then negative pitch.
Okay, so the right RE power here is not selected. Negative pitch, positive.
Okay.
and you're gonna say,
Copy, we're following.
radar, you can get that.
Copy, that's a good checkout, and we'll do the reflection of the channel from the ground, and you are go for Ryan 180 pitch ATP and prox ops STO after set.
The crew just did a couple of tests with their hand controllers that they'll be using to command the spacecraft. Again, we expect to hear quite a lot of communication from them during this time period, so I'm going to front load you with a lot of information of what you can expect to hear. So initially, again, that target that they will be monitoring is the ICPS itself once we have undocked. And then as we move in closer, it becomes the docking target. The crew will fly all the way into 30 meters before, and they will break at 75 meters, breaking again at 30 meters, and then arrive and hold at 10 meters away from the interim cryogenic propulsion stage. Mr. Glover is going to conduct an attitude alignment and then move into the precision translation test and then the precision rotation test. They are exactly as they sound. These are small movements while closer to the ICPS like we would need to make if we were docking. Of course, again, this is essentially a practice for our future Artemis missions in which Orion will need to dock to a lunar lander. Orion will then back away 20 meters from the ICPS for the ICPS to complete a thermal turn, setting it up for the next portion of the proximity operations, where the crew 2 minutes to maneuver to set attitude. Once that thermal turn is complete, the crew will approach the side docking target. Again, we're not docking today, but Glover will command Orion to hold at 15 meters from the ICPS. He'll then move into the precision translation test again, but this time with the side target, conducting multi-axis tests of Orion's yaw before maneuvering the spacecraft to its tail-to-sun configuration, which helps generate power through its solar arrays. Finally, the proximity operations demonstration will be complete, and Glover will initiate Orion's departure from the interim cryogenic propulsion stage. This is the upper stage separation burn and provides the separation we need between Orion and the ICPS. ICPS will then have its own deorbit burn over the Pacific Ocean following Orion's departure. Again, maneuvering to a separation attitude, coming up now in just about 40 seconds. And separation from the interim cryogenic propulsion stage coming up in 4 minutes and 25 seconds. We are now 3 hours and 18 minutes since liftoff. We expect to have views from the docking camera. This is new hardware on Artemis 2. Testing it out here helps us reduce the risk in using it for future missions. We'll be using this for proximity operations and our overnight demonstration tests as well. It remains stowed for ascent and was installed shortly thereafter. The plan is to keep it installed during the crew sleep period, but they will remove it during crew wake since it keeps the crew from observation and photography out of that window.
Is an integrity of box check from seat 1 on the Peltor headset.
Loud and clear.
Okay, I have to call requesting a response will be Houston. Will there come no response required? Then I can come down.
We copy, we're ready.
we are ready. Just some words on my configuration. I'm wearing my opposite boot, and they're clipped in to keep 1 foot band to give you stability. I've got the shoulder straps of the harness on, tight, holding me down to the seat band, so I feel really stable for actuating the rotational and translational hand control.
Brother letting the teams here on the ground know that he doesn't expect a response from them.
Yes. Next phase 2:45. Our next action is in about 2 minutes. You start the time. Thank you for the price. Do we confirm with them about the power down? The sun is coming up. Houston integrity for the power down. Are we okay to write the DUs for process demo?
You're going to configure to use as bright as you like.
Integrity.
Expecting ICPS separation coming up in about a minute and a half.
I think you're complete. Good step attitude.
Integrity cup.
Read shared just before launch. This is a crew activity. We will be hearing Victor's voice.
Okay, about a minute until we.
Christina Cook is floating to Victor's left. She's in charge of the timing and procedural discipline. Jeremy Hansen is floating to Reed's right, watching the ICPS. Ready to call back away if needed. Stand by for separation.
30 seconds to time start. And that timer starts at separation commencement. Stand by. We have good separation, good motion. We are ATP go.
Confirmation, separation from the interim cryogenic propulsion stage.
Go for 180 pitch. Confirm. Separation confirmed.
You can copy.
All right, here's the pitch rate. Video. I had no sound free option. Straight up. Yeah, selected. I see it. Look at that. Woohoo.
This view inside Orion.
You can load in the camera. And now I see ICPS in the docking camera field of view. Okay, waiting for 550. I'm on the THC. There's 550. Turning the 19 in 1.
This is the view from
9. And
this is the view arrow. The docking camera is showing the crew inside Orion.
19 in. The exit bar area. Much quieter. That little rumble like we're driving on a rocky road, but much quieter than in the sim. I'm showing about 3 degrees wide on it. And it's holding right near the center.
Integrity, no action for you on that enable prop call.
All right, still waiting on the 19 inch to burn out. Verso is still fine. We've got a little rumble, like driving on a rocky road. All right, burned out. Okay, I see about 2.6 degrees wide on it. Yep. All right, zooming in. 3x. 6.7 degrees wide. There goes 6x zoom. looks to me like we might have even like closure. I definitely don't think we're open. Anybody else? Okay, 2.6.
Copy.
Look at the exposure difference between 2 and 3. That's 3. It's quite washed out. When I go to 2, I can see the ducking target. I'll only leave it at 2 for now.
The degrees Glover is reporting.
1, 2, 3. And it is that rumble, a little bit of a rumble from the surface module. I hear them still burning. It looks like they just burned out. And I see we definitely have open. 1, 2, 3, 4 impulses. And so far, what I can tell you about this is it's much tighter than the sim. There's not a lot of lateral movement, not a lot of rotational movement as these are burning out. ICPS is nice and stable in the camera field of view. It is 2.5 degrees wide, and we should have a slight closing right. There's a half a degree below the center of the ducking cam. It is 2.5 degrees wide. And authority depth is quite nice, very responsive. And the camera is also better than what we were flying in the sim. I'm getting very slight movement, so it's making it easier to assess opening and closing. This camera is much better than the sim. We will be less than 4 degrees. I'm going to start left. It's just to the left, so here comes 2 left. 1, 2, left. Good motion. Looking for 1 full degree, so I'll start center. I get the center, waiting for 1 degree to the right. I'm going to give it 1 down, if that's okay. I can still got good motion, but it's 1 down for correcting ICPS towards the center. All right, and then when I get 1 degree of motion, there's 1 degree, 1, 2, 3, 4 right. 2 left to center. Again, very responsive. Authority DAP is quite responsive. It's very intuitive. I got about 1/4 of a degree, maybe even less than that, of overshoot. Starting at 1 degree of movement, and I've got good motion, half a degree back toward the center line, and I will capture with 2 left. I'm going to lead that by about 1/4 of a degree. Here comes the first 1, 2. I'm going to give it. I'm going to let this down slowly, correct? So, all right. Again, that little rumble is like a very slight rumble, like just driving over a little slightly bumpy road, and the 2 left are in. We stopped on the center line laterally and vertically with very straight back. Here comes 2 down. 1, 2. Start down to the center. Got me 0.5 degrees wide on that. Yes. I keep on center. Rumble, but I think previously it used to be a long place, and they've been dragging where you go for conflict down out of the structure, and it's more of a grassy road. Very long. There's not a lot of dynamic there. 1 degree of motion. Here comes 1.
Copy activation.
3, 4 up. And there's 1/4 of a degree of overshoot, maybe 1/3 of a degree, and we've got motion to stop. Waiting for motion. Yep, this one is taking a little longer. Motion is tracking back the other direction now. We'll go 2 down to center. We also had some enough direction going in, so I think I didn't take that out before we started this. That may have contributed to it overshooting a little bit more than the previous. Yeah, we started with a little bit of motion due to that correction earlier on. All right, half a degree to go, and then we'll go 2 down. see one down, just not this. They're gonna put that in now, there's one down. And we are centered. One five.
Copy.
Equal. So that's the okay. Copy.
Copy, concur.
Okay, I don't need to run. Okay. Control 6 steering. Gauge. Hold inertia. Got rain. Get breath. One degree on the rate scale set. Just trying to get that docking target background. So I'm going down to exposure 1 now. I can see the docking target clear. Ready? Okay, 3 volts to the right coming in. 1, 2, 3. In motion. 2 for 17. 5 degrees for 7. And no cross coupling, no break in other axes. 10 degrees for 7. In motion. The ICPS center topic 12 for 17.
The degrees you hear Glover reporting are the amount the ICPS is taking up on the docking camera, which you see in the left side of your screen.
All right, roll rate is at 0. Ready? I'm on. Giving it 1 down, 1 left. Go gravel road.
Copy. Neurovax to Proxox demo, good to continue.
1, 2. Set. Okay, let me center ICPS stable. I'm going to go up. I'm going to go right. Okay, hold right and hold. All right, hold right is done. Roll good motion, no cross coupling. It's only roll rates. I see ICPS 2 for 5. It is slow, easy to anticipate, and stopping at 5. Was able to stop right at 5. Use integrity, so get going left. Good motion, it's all roll. No rates in pitch or yaw. 2. High roll, pitch release to 0. Back to the center. Roll is slow but nice and predictable, easy to anticipate and stop with precision.
Copy.
You're 2.6 degrees left. point edge. Pitch isn't pulse. It's just greater than half a degree low. Pitch keeps up 1 pulse over 1 degree. Pitch up 9 that, and there's 1 anticipated stop it right on that 1.5 degree line and returning to the pitch down. Stop just greater than half degree low. Stop. Very nice. That pitch was very tight, very responsive. I was able to stop it right where I started. The pitch going back to the street. 0.7 degrees low. Pitch up and hold. All right, pitch up. 5 minutes. And very responsive also with the street. Pitch down and hold. Back to initial vertical position. Stop. After. Very nice. Ready for yaw to pulse. Going right to 1 hole. A good motion. And yaw left 1 pulse. Stop it right at 1 degree. Very responsive in yaw as well. That's 1 pulse in motion of cross coupling. And then 1 degree. Stop overshot out about 1/8 of a degree. Back to original position. Yaw going back to the street. Yawing right and hold. 1 degree. Good motion, no cross coupling. 1/2 degree. There's 1 degree stop. And overshot about 1/8 degree. Nice capture. And I'm giving a little bit of bounce here. I think that, I'm sure this most likely from us, the camera, or this vehicle wobbling in yaw. So the ICPS is moving, it's wobbling left and right slightly in the camera view. It did stop at the 1 degree of motion quite precisely, but we got this wobble just now. Going back to initial position by yawing left and hold. While it's yawing, it is solid. There's no wobble. Stop. Release. See if that bobble comes back. There is a slight bobble, maybe dead bending or just the camera or your vehicle fluctuating. Are you guys seeing that, Houston? Are you seeing bobble in the video?
No, we are not, but it might be because it's a low rate for us.
Okay, and a little bit of a lateral oscillation then.
Copy, go to continue, and also, once you get there, you are going for forward target approach to 10 meters.
That is going to course. It's showing course. 16 in starting now. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 10, 14, 15, 16 in. All right, I'm going to do it 1 minute. All right, we're coming up on 3 degrees wide. Stand by for 3 degrees. 3 degrees wide. Gave it 1 down. It doesn't seem to be tracking down. So give it 1 more down, of course. There we go. responding to that one, going to give it one left course as well. Good trip. Good, you think?
This view live inside Orion.
Capcom, it was good to us. Thanks.
Tech will be at 25 degrees wide, stand by. At 3.5 degrees wide, 1823.
Courtesy to go to move in towards 10 meters away from the interim cryogenic propulsion stage. Again, pilot Victor Glover flying the Orion spacecraft right now.
I'm sorry, 4 degrees wide.
This is all to teach us about how Orion flies manually in space and prepares us for future missions when we'll need to dock with a lunar lander.
Stand by for 4 degrees wide. I guess it's 4 degrees wide at 19. Course, and here comes 10 hours. 2, 5, 10 out. ICBS is still stable. That little wobble, lateral, a little yaw. Again, can't tell if that's the camera or the vehicle, but overall it's pretty stable. Very, very minor oscillation. 75-meter break. Going into your camera exposure set. Copy. Copy. You got it. One pick that fine. You're fine and one right. Okay, stand by for 4.5 hat 19. All right, come up on 5 degrees wide. And at 5 degrees wide, 20. The next action is when the center docking target is 1 degree wide, it's about half a degree wide right now. Thank you. 6 at 24, 6 degrees wide. Fine, I'm going to go one up. Right. I need going course and 1 out. Your course, 1 out. Back to 5. 1 up. Stand by for 6.5 degrees wide. Excuse me. I may have skipped on 5.5. That's 5.5 degrees wide. That may have been the reason we thought I skipped one on you. I skipped 5. 1 up, 1 right. Okay. All right, course. Did a mistake in slowdown, so going back course and 1 in. Not as far ahead as we thought we were. All right, going up on 6.5, at 6.5, 5. You're fine going up, up, up. 6 degrees. That was 6 degrees wide the last time I did. I think I skipped through 6.5. I'll give you 7. All right, stand by for 7 degrees wide. That's CPS 7 degrees wide, hack 2245. All right, and ICPS, the center docking target is about 0.7 degrees wide. Next hack is 7.5. Correct. All right, 7.5 hack. All right. Right about 0.75 degrees wide on the center docking target. Left and fine. 8 degrees, hack 2322. All right, I'm going to transition to center docking target. 0.8 degrees wide. The next action will be course and 6 out when it's 1 degree wide. There's something floating to the right of ICPS. See that pulled off the screen on camera view? 0.8 degrees wide. Quite large. All right, I'm going to course. 0.9 degrees. 1 degree wide. Here comes 6 outs. 1, 2, 3, 6 outs.
Copy. This is view from Orion's docking camera looking at the interim cryogenic propulsion stage. They have completed their 40-meter braking and are flying in towards 10 meters away.
You're looking for 2.5 plus or minus a quarter of a degree. All right. About 1.2, 1.1.
This view from the docking camera is a zoomed in view at this time. Again, we are coming in, we were at 30 meters, moving in toward 10 meters away from the interim cryogenic propulsion stage. And again, we are seeing a docking target, but this is practice. We are not docking to anything today. This is a test of how Orion flies when completed manually by the pilot.
That is definitely worth it. Right. Next hack will be at 1.5 degrees wide on the center docking target. Nice and smooth. It is actually holding like close to the center, so I haven't had to make any corrections. Nice and stable so far. We are at manual exposure 1, which is interesting. I don't know what the sun angle is right now. That seems to be the best view. You can see the shadow of the center cross. A little low. Right there. Maybe put these seatbelts weren't a good idea because now I can't see it. All right, next one will be 1.5. Stand by. Hack 1.5 degrees wide at 26. And then at 2.5 plus or minus quarter of a degree, course 4 out. I'm jealous I can't go up to the window and see it on purpose. I'm going to put 1.75 degrees wide.
This view inside Orion as the crew is using their iPhones to take pictures out of the window of the
5 degrees wide, 2740.
They're able to see the interim cryogenic propulsion stage outside the windows.
So once we get to 2.25 degrees wide, we're at the window to start breaking course and 4 out. Coming up on 2 degrees wide. Two degrees wide. That's 28 to 20. And that's 22 degrees wide.
Standing by for Orion to arrive 10 meters away from the ICPS.
I'm going to go ahead and go to course now. And I see we're at about 0.25 degrees wide. I think we're in the window to start breaking. Let's start now. 1, 2, 3, 4 out. That did not induce a lot of rotation, so not a lot of cross controlling there. And waiting for closure to stabilize. I'm showing us about 2.25. Fine. Just to center us up. We're fine. We'll try to.
Copy, read. You are go to Q4 target handling quality test.
They're 2.3 degrees wide. We're in the window.
The crew is now moving into some precision translation.
We are within 2 degrees. That's really, I could be 1 or 2 things. That's one eye up. Okay, I'm going to set it up, so I'm going to go down, translate down. Just a little bit. I mean, we're talking about a fraction of a degree. 1/6x. And I'm waiting for that cross to be centered, and then I can pitch up.
Again, Glover is able to
Right there. Found it. Now I'm going to pitch up. Center.
Glover is using the docking camera on Orion, looking at the ICPS that you see on the left of your screen.
Here to do. And I feel this is a file.
Copy.
Copy. Confirm. Press 5. 3x zoom.
This is a zoom view from the docking camera on Orion. We are about 10 meters away from the interim cryogenic propulsion stage.
Y-axis ready. I'll start at the center and we're out 5. Good. Copy a little opening. At the center logically. Okay. Yep, 175. And I see opening. Okay. So we're centered. 1, 2, 3, left pulses. Good motion. There's a half a degree good motion, a little bit of down or up in ICPS. There comes 1, 2, 3 to null. 1/10 of a degree overshoot. We're looking pretty stable right now. We did have some upward motion on ICPS. I'm going to turn that up as well. I'll give one more out. 5. Okay, at 3 right. Come 3 right. 1, 2, 3 right. Bring it back to center. Good motion. Picking up a little bit of upward motion. 2.7 stable on the range top. And I'm going to capture it with 1, 2, little rumble, felt something, here just a second ago. 2.6 on the range. All right, and we're gonna go 3 pulses up. I'll start measuring from the center. 1, 2, 3, up. There's center, and we'll know 1, 3 low. Overall, the control is very responsive. Not sure if it's the dead banding half of 3 good motion, but I am doing a little bit more lateral correcting to keep it centered. And there's 1, 2 to catch it. About a 10 to 3 overshoot. We got some lateral motion build up the tempo left to correct that. All right, 3 down to bring it back to center. 1, 2. Range is good. We had to do some opening half a degree. Good motion. Start to take out the 1, 2, 3 downs, and we are centered. And so like that, it does seem to move a little bit more, but it's very responsive in the correction. And so I was able to stop it right on the center. Holding at 2.6, 6x zoom, going in. Great. All right, half inner circle for 60 seconds. Good range. Happy minute. Copy 15 seconds until center on center. All right, going on and on. A higher gain there, definitely requiring some control, some more frequent control inputs. Stable there now, trying to minimize inputs, see if I can hold that stable. Okay, time to
Perform set to proceed.
think that is fine. Holding at 2.5. So, sit down. For 1 degree good motion, no cross coupling, half degree. And waiting for 1 full degree motion, stop. Block, right on the line. No cross coupling, good motion, there's half degree. Going back to the center. That's very responsive. Yelling left. Half degree. And stopping it right off the vertical grid line. Yeah, a little bit of a translation. Back, yelling right, good motion, cross cut, half a degree. Back to the center line, stop. Very, very nice control and negative rotation. Go left to confirm motion. Good motion. And copy that down. Thank you. Going back to center. And then this down the windows was able to proceed with motion of all the alignment tests that we just did.
Good.
That is course, filling course. 6 outs, sorry. 2, 3.
You're hearing the voice of pilot Victor Glover. He is backing away from the interim cryogenic propulsion stage, having completed this portion of the proximity operations demonstration. Once the interim cryogenic propulsion stage completes its thermal turn, they will begin using the target on this side of the ICPS.
I'm picking it back up to full. Get the cross. 2 is pretty.
Glover is also able to control the brightness of the screen and of the docking camera that you see. Again, we are not docking today. This is a test of how Orion flies when done so manually and helps us prepare for future Artemis missions. We just see crew move in all the way to 10 meters from the ICPS. They are now backing away as was planned. The interim cryogenic propulsion stage will make a turn, and then the crew will fly in again and conduct some similar tests with a side docking target. We're just over 4 hours since launch today, a very busy day for the crew.
Are coming up on 1.5, going course. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 1.5.
Copy. Confirmation, the crew has completed backing away from the ICPS,
Right at 1.5.
expecting that thermal turn to happen in about 1 minute and 20 seconds.
I'll do 1x to watch the turn.
Glover is also able to choose the zoom on the docking target. This view on the left will allow us to also see the thermal turn.
That might be course.
Standing by for interim cryogenic propulsion stage to do a thermal turn.
Down. But I see motion. I see pitch on ICPS.
ICPS thermal turn start.
Here comes down. Course. 1, 2, 3. 8 down.
Great view of the ICPS that powered Orion during the G raise maneuver and apogee raise burn.
5, 8. I can see the side docking target. That is a good looking American flag. Copy.
Again, this view coming from the docking camera on Orion, looking at the cryogenic propulsion stage. You can see that docking target down near the bottom of your screen. ICPS thermal turn complete. Reminder, we are not docking today. This is a test of how it feels for pilot Victor Glover to manually fly the spacecraft. He's using the zoom feature on the docking camera to get exactly what he wants as he prepares to move in and around the ICPS.
Target's about 1.75.
Goodbye.
At around 1 to 2 degrees wide. And I just don't want to lose this, the data, separation, way back, separation from my,
Integrity, you are go for approach to side target to 15 meters and execute handling quality test.
Of course.
We copy.
Almost 2 degrees wide. Of course, almost at 2 degrees wide, and here comes 4 out. 2, 4. All right, 2 plus or minus a quarter, we're 50-meter hold is
Copy.
Orion is now 15 meters away from the interim cryogenic propulsion stage.
couple out.
They will not move in any closer. They're going to continue piloting the spacecraft.
Now, 1, 3. Good motion. A lateral will have a bit of closure and coming right to about a quarter of a degree, not less than a quarter of a degree up to 3 right, 2.1 degrees wide. Good motion. Half a degree. All right, here it comes. Lift us. Stop it. 1, 2, 3. Three down. 2, 3. Start measuring from the center. The center. Good motion. Half a degree. 1,
You can copy.
2, 3. And we picked up a little bit of motion to the left on ICPS. Okay, stop that. Bring it back. 1, 2, 3. To bring it back. Also correcting left. Good motion.
"46 minutes since the start of the proximity operations demonstration.
2. All right. 2.1 degrees wide.
The degrees you hear Pilot Victor Glover reporting are the amount of space the docking target is taking up in his view that you're seeing here on the docking camera.
Six X. Okay. 6X. Good.
Chicken.
Good range. Good time.
Zoom is good.
Alright, good range. That's inside 2, inside 15 meters. So getting inputs, not doing a whole lot of commanding. It's holding quite steady. When I'm not doing anything, it's holding nice and steady. The camera and the vehicle are holding steady. It's almost at the center. I will get set up for center on center. Cross, over the back, match cross. Alright, starting precision. A higher gain, higher frequency of inputs. It's very responsive. I just have to make inputs because it does seem to pick up lateral motion. Commanding. I'm able to hold the magenta cross within the black cross on the side without, I was talking it went out, but overall, able to keep it centered, less moderate or less effort. A complete, very precise control.
Copy, and you are go for the multi-axis test, and read, you are coming in much lower volume than Victor.
Okay, now we got the
That's better, thanks.
Again, pilot Victor Glover on the left side of your screen is manually piloting the spacecraft, executing the 6 degrees of freedom, translating forward, backward, left, right, up, and down, and rotating the pitch, yaw, and roll of Orion in relation to the interim cryogenic propulsion stage.
Course. RT right on TAT. Ready? Alright, then I'll get the yaw out to 2 degrees. It's there. It rains, it's just inside of 2.
Integrity Houston, no action on the caution warning messages.
It's in. We got that in. Alright, lateral motion is oh. 355 to 35. Alright, nice and stable, focusing on range, out that little opening, and to correct. That's the dynamics there at the beginning, going yaw, translation yaw, translation but caught up. Was able to correct it out without any problems, moderate or less workload. Very stable, just focusing on range. 50 to 345, and at 345, we go 50 to 345. Nice and stable. Range is good. 40 through 5, nice and stable, so we're in a good position to go course.
The crew is on a timeline and about 2 minutes away from their multi-degree of freedom yaw test.
7, 5, 6. Yeah, that rate gone down quite a bit. 5 is pick that course. Yeah, the yaw rate had dropped off a bit. I put it back in. And 3 will go discrete. 42. just outside, range is open. Good. Actually, we're looking nice right at you. Okay, ready? Of course. Stand by. It's nice and stable. Get out of course and just go high to try to know a little oscillating around center. Okay, I'm ready. Big 10. All right, got a good yaw rate. I'll watch the yaw rate closer this time. Fine. Okay. And then I did that in before. Fine. Back to, all right, going out. Of course, out. All right, there we go. I see opening. Buddy curve. All right, thank you. I'll go back to fine. All right, that yaw rate is slightly dropping off on 348. One more out. That'll be 355. 350, 355. All right, there's big quarters. 2.1. And a little dynamic at the beginning to stabilize all the motion. I'm on 0. Oh yeah, you can see some of the coating on the fabric on the behind the back started moving the speed. All right, we're stabilized about 1.75.
Copy.
I do. I think we stopped open.
We're ready for you to go to instruction 169. You are go for the multi-axis maneuver by KLC Sun.
Coming up on 1 hour since separation from the interim cryogenic propulsion stage, again, almost an hour ago, and now 4 hours and 20 minutes since liftoff. We are getting closer to the tail end of the Proxox demonstration. Again, during this demonstration, Victor Glover, the pilot aboard Orion, was manually piloting the Orion spacecraft in relation to the interim cryogenic propulsion stage. You can see that ICPS on the left side of your screen. And the ICPS visible through the docking camera.
356 to 353. 355.
Of course, we're not docking to anything on the Artemis 2 mission, but this test helps us understand how Orion flies manually and helps us prepare for future missions when we'll need to dock to a lunar lander. The commands Glover has been sending to
Throw another yaw in there to keep it at 0.2. Yeah. Overall, guys, this flies very nicely. Copy 347 per pulse.
what Glover is using to command the spacecraft, the translational and rotational hand controllers.
Very precise. 3x. It's a 358. Pitch down, going in.
Orion is using the 24 reaction control system thrusters on the European service module.
All right, going back to center. Of course. Back into the duck. Yeah, target back. Focus on being stable. Yeah, the thruster firings are a lot less aggressive than I thought it would sound or feel. But drive on the road. The response is quite immediate. All the X's are even. Roll is very, very slow. But pitch and yaw are very snappy and responsive. And when you have the zoom set right, you can see very small motions, and so translations are all quite good and very nicely balanced.
Affirm.
Inertial. Just going for stable. We're stable.
Currently, Orion is about 15 meters away from the interim cryogenic propulsion stage. At the conclusion of the proximity operations demonstration, and read, please repeat.
Always done a search for 185. Want to make sure you are ready for that heat and go for departure.
Go for depth 18 and go for departure.
Happy to use touch and word.
Capcom Amy Dill calling to the crew. They are go for departure from the interim cryogenic propulsion stage.
Houston, integrity departure initiated.
Copy. Orion is now backing away from the interim cryogenic propulsion stage. The proximity operations demonstration is complete. Coming up next, we will have the upper stage separation burn, providing distance between Orion and the ICPS.
Oh, wow, look at that. Wow. Copy, going off box. Great flying with you, Houston. Nice vehicle.
Good job, Victor, and the entire crew. We enjoyed your time at seeing ICPS out the window.
Houston, I am bringing the exposure control down to 1 medium some video, let us know if you want that higher for your very best.
I think the one is good for us.
This is a live view from the Vehicle Asset and Launch Operations Room. This is Valor, the ULA Launch Team Support Room, responsible for observing any program issues that may require their experience to correctly detect and assess. They've been monitoring the health of the ICPS prior to launch.
No action on the caution.
They've been monitoring ICPS since before launch, through launch, and obviously during the proximity operations until the ICPS end of mission. Back inside Orion, we are accepting their upper stage separation burn again. That will take them away from the interim cryogenic propulsion stage very shortly. The interim cryogenic propulsion stage will then conduct its own disposal burn and will burn up upon re-entry over Earth's atmosphere over the Pacific Ocean. This view of the interim cryogenic propulsion stage.
Copy.
4 hours, 27 minutes since Orion launched.
With the dot cam field of view, we're going to stay on first snap, and we're going to discontinue all manual feed input.
Copy, Reed. Please take dot cam exposure to 0, wait 20 seconds, and then take back to 1.
I guess that didn't work.
As you heard Capcom Amy Dill ask the crew, they are able to control the exposure that we see from the docking camera. Down on the bottom right side of your screen as the interim cryogenic propulsion stage gets farther and farther away. That's actually Orion backing away from the ICPS, having recently completed the proximity operations demonstration, during which pilot Victor Glover manually flew Orion. On the left side of your screen, you can see Glover in the left. He's currently in seat 1, having conducted those prox ops. And on the right is NASA astronaut and commander of Artemis 2, Reed Wiseman.
And you can hear
We're ready.
Houston, we are going to 12.2.2515 USS 2 for our next mission.
We're with you.
4 hours and 30 minutes since liftoff today of Orion, also referred to as Integrity, atop the Space Launch System rocket at Kennedy Space Center in Florida. The crew continues to back away from the ICPS, the interim cryogenic propulsion stage that was used for the perigee raise maneuver, and the apogee raise burn that put them in the hybrid orbit where they're at now. Coming up shortly is the upper stage separation burn. Upper stage separation provides what we need to distance Orion and the interim cryogenic propulsion stage even further. The ICPS will have its own disposal burn. For when it's 2 minutes until ICPS maneuvers.
We're checking with you and just for emergency.
Go to continue, ready for ATP.
It's an ATP burn. Ready to go.
Copy. This view live in Artemis Mission Control here at Johnson Space Center in Houston as the Orbit 1 team continues monitoring the flight of Orion on the Artemis 2 mission. We just completed the proximity operations demo during which pilot Victor Glover manually flew the Orion spacecraft, the first time anyone has done so. And we're preparing for the upper stage separation burn to separate Orion from the interim cryogenic propulsion stage even further. Major burns after this point are using the OMS, the Orbital Maneuvering Service Engine, on the European Service Module. There are also some 24 reaction control system thrusters on the European Service Module. Integrity ICPS maneuver in work. The interim cryogenic propulsion stage making an additional maneuver ahead of the USS-2 burn. That USS-2 burn coming from Orion. The ICPS will have its own disposal burn and will burn up upon re-entry over the Pacific Ocean. again live here in Mission Control Houston, Artemis Mission Control to be exact. Just down the hall from the International Space Station Mission Control Room, also flying with humans aboard 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. We have completed the proximity operations demonstration aboard Orion. We are now looking ahead to the upper stage separation burn. This provides distance from between Orion and the ICPS. The ICPS will have its own disposal burn at about 5 hours NET. We are now 4 hours and 37 minutes NET, or time since launch. It's been a long day for the crew aboard Orion, and they still have a few tasks to complete before they can go to bed tonight. Of course, we'll have the upper stage separation burn that they will need to monitor. They'll continue doffing and stowing suits. You can hear it.
Can you confirm what status you want us for suit direct?
Checking. Integrity, can you confirm that you did the glove swap activity?
Dave, we did not do the glove swap activity.
All right, when able, you can do the glove swap activity, and then we'll need a 15-minute timer, and then we'll be ready to terminate the journey.
Integrity.
Solar arrays are now in motion ahead of the USS 2 burn, upper stage separation 2 burn. And with proximity operations complete, we will look forward to hearing from pilot Victor Glover how it felt to fly Orion. But just before his launch, we get to ask him how it felt and how he was looking forward to it.
As a test pilot, the opportunity to fly a spaceship is just a dream. It's unreal. The piloting role specifically, I will have an hour and a half or so where I get to fly the spacecraft by hand. And we fly Orion a lot in the simulator to train, but also to build an experience base for how the teams on the ground think Orion's going to work. And then when we fly Orion in space, we're actually going to compare the two to help them make better models. You know, my inner test pilot is like, of course, very excited about that. But really, the point of this is to make sure that Orion is a safe spacecraft so that we can go and do more complicated missions without having to think about it. And we need to have a test pilot on every mission to fly the spacecraft. So far, I really like the way Orion flies, but it's only been in the simulator. And so the ability to fly one actually in space on a test mission is just a really unique opportunity.
Again, those words from pilot Victor Glover before his flight aboard Orion, and reflecting on how it's been to fly Orion in the simulator for those proximity operations demonstrations. Now he has got to do the real thing today, Prox Ops having just completed about 10 minutes ago. This view live inside Artemis Mission Control at Johnson Space Center in Houston as the crew continues to move away from the ICPS ahead of that upper stage separation burn. All 4 solar arrays are now in position ahead of the upper stage separation burn. Integrity Houston, we are checking on those cautions. Orion is now maneuvering into the proper attitude ahead of that upper stage separation burn. Orion continuing to maneuver into its proper attitude ahead of the upper stage separation burn. After this burn, the crew has a little more work to do before they can go to sleep. It's been a long day for them, having woken up about 8 hours before launch. The crew aboard Orion will continue stowing their suits and configuring the cabin as they need it for duration of the flight.
Integrity Houston, those caution warning messages for prop or CN manifolds being used for maneuver to burn attitude still go for USS2.
Integrity copy, still go for USS two, thanks for the update, and, the crescent bird from almost 20,000 miles. Amazing.
Thanks for that report.
Upper stage separation burn for Orion coming up in about 4 minutes. We're now 4 hours and 46 minutes since liftoff. This view coming live from the spacecraft, looking at one of the solar arrays. The solar arrays are now swept forward, and that protects them from any loads imparted when we conduct this upper stage separation burn. 2 minutes until the upper stage separation burn. This will be the last burn of the evening. The crew will continue stowing their suits. They'll configure the cabin. They will also have their private medical conference. These are scheduled every single day to allow the crew to report how they're feeling down to team members here on Earth. Then they'll get into their pre-sleep and their sleep for the evening. They will only get a few hours of sleep to start. They're going to wake up essentially in the middle of this nap for the perigee raise burn. That burn will set us up for translunar injection tomorrow. And translunar injection burn is what will commit us to flying by the moon and also serves as our deorbit burn. Less than a minute now until the upper stage separation burn.
Terry Houston, no action on the O's caution.
And we have confirmation of the upper stage segment burn start and complete. Very short burn.
And Terry Houston, no action on the RCS prop cautions. We're taking a look.
Okay, copy. We show about 10 seconds to go on a trim burn, and that is looking good. Attitude stable.
Copy. And Terry Houston, good USS-2 burn.
Security copy. Good USS 2.
Confirmation of a successful USS-2 burn, upper stage separation. This view live from Orion. You can see on the right the solar array. Also heard some calls from Capcom Amy Dill to the crew about some cautions that they will see aboard the spacecraft that they're looking into on the reaction control system thrusters, and no action is needed from the crew at this time.
Security is procedure 12.2.0. 2515 USS Submarine execution. Confirm you will complete remaining post-burn reconfig, and we will proceed.
We concur, we'll take it from here.
The proximity operations complete and the upper stage separation burn complete as well. We are now looking to the ICPS or interim cryogenic propulsion stage disposal burn. We will not see this or the data on it. It will burn up upon reentry over Earth's atmosphere over the Pacific Ocean.
Houston Integrity, I'm going to request a
Copy and checking. We will suppress from the ground the CMS 300 caution.
Integrity, very low priority. Let me know when you have 2 minutes for like troubleshooting.
We have the time.
Okay, Amy, as we're learning how to use this mic, I'm talking in a conversational level with the mic about a half a centimeter from my mouth. How do you hear me right now?
It's a bit better. It's about 3 or 4 by 5.
Okay, Amy, now I am talking to you with the tip of the boom mic pressed against my upper lip. So I have lip contact on the mic. How is it now?
5 by 5.
Okay, I'll let the crew know. Thank you.
Sweet coffee. And Integrity Houston on one, whenever you're ready, we do have some toilet troubleshooting actions for you.
Okay, Houston, we copy on the toilet. We have one sewage something for you. Let me know you're happy.
We're ready for surge delta.
Very simple. The PWD cover is in Foxtrot 2, not Foxtrot 3.
We copy.
Okay, you can be, just give us about 2 minutes while we're ready for the toilet work.
Standing by.
And we have confirmation that the interim cryogenic propulsion stage burn has started. Again, this is a disposal burn. The ICPS will re-enter Earth's atmosphere and harmlessly burn up over the Pacific Ocean. Additionally, we are expecting the CubeSats to be released soon. These will be released from the Orion stage adapter on the Space Launch System upper stage into a high Earth orbit, where they will conduct an orbital maneuver to reach their own desired orbit. These are 5 CubeSats from space agencies including Germany, South Korea, Saudi Arabia, and Argentina. They have their own distinct objectives completely separate from NASA's mission. These CubeSats are shoebox-sized payloads that have the potential to expand our knowledge of the space environment. The German Space Agency, or DLR's Takeles CubeSat, will measure effects of the space environment on electrical components to inform technologies for lunar vehicles. The Korea Aerospace Administration, or CASA's KRAD cube, will use a dosimeter made of human-like tissue to measure space radiation and biological effects across the Van Allen radiation belts. Saudi Space Agency's Saudi Geomagnetosphere Satellite, or SHMS CubeSat, will measure space weather at a range of distances from Earth. And Argentina's Comisión Nacional de Actividades Espaciales, or CONE, has a CubeSat called ETNA, which will assess radiation shielding methods, measuring Earth's radiation spectrum, collecting GPS data, and validating a long-range communications link. By working with other countries to fly these, you can hear it.
Hey, Amy, without knowing what's going on later this day, how important is the 4K encoder setup?
Checking.
Integrity Houston on one for timeline big picture.
All 4 crew members are here.
Fantastic. Hey, it's been a great day, guys, and we're going to try and get you to bed a little bit early today. We do want to do the 4K encoder setup as well as the toilet troubleshooting. I don't think it'll take very long. Ideally, we get that done here in the next hour or so, along with the conferences, and then get you guys to bed a little bit early. That's what we're thinking down here.
Jeff, that all sounds great to us. I have a couple pieces of information if you have no further updates. All right, that's how we're gonna break up the crew, right now to handle this. Victor is the lead for suit drying and suit stowage. And we show that we have had Columbus one for about 16 minutes. We could probably move on there. Not coming.
We copy.
Okay, Jeremy is going to be the cabin config supervisor. He is going to get into cabin config, but as his first activity, he is going to get a power chain set up with a cobalt brick and then your for a encoder, and I will help him. I'll copy.
We copy.
Christina is going to work the toilet troubleshooting with you. So when you all are ready, if you are happy with what with what Victor and Jeremy are doing, I will hand the comm and the toilet lead over to Christina.
Copy. Stand by for data rate change.
This view inside Mission Control Houston, specifically Artemis Mission Control, as the crew is reporting down some of their tasks that they're continuing to work on at the end of this flight day. It's been a very busy day for the crew so far, again waking up about 8 hours before liftoff, which was now 5 hours and 5 minutes ago. After a successful ride to orbit, they saw the purity raise maneuver, the apogee raise burn, and got into the proximity operations demonstration. They then conducted the upper stage separation burn to depart the interim cryogenic propulsion stage. That's put us into our current configuration. Crew is working inside the cabin to configure it, to configure where they will stow their suits, and we'll eventually get to some pre-sleep and sleep opportunities before the apogee raise burn in the middle of the night. Ranji, and we are coming to you live with 24/7 continuous coverage of the Artemis 2 mission. Like I said, I'm Nellifer, and I'll be your Orbit 3 commentator today. While the crew is in a short sleep period this morning, here are the highlights from Flight Day 1 aboard the Orion spacecraft.
Crew on board as they make their way from the Kennedy Space Center into Earth orbit.
Yes, a pre-flight tradition that we have seen with our
We're a little more than 20 minutes from the time of the of that burn. Maintaining transparency. The answer 1 2 for count check. Yep. All right. And for all persons.
John?
Ryan, it was transitory. And that begins terminal. We just go. All. One of them built from shuttle parts. And there you see them moving. Now we're going to start moving the power from both the upper stage and the lower stage of the rocket to internal, taking ground power away and now going to battery power. PLS is go for upper stage and internal power. Our power is removed from the rocket's upper stage. The ICPS, and it's been switched to battery. Same milestone for the lower core stage coming up at T-minus 1 minute and 30 seconds. Right now, the 4-person Artemis 2 crew is 248,000 miles away from the moon. And if all goes well, they will fly by it in 6 days. PLS is going for 4 stages of internal power. All right, there's the rocket's core stage, which houses 3 flight computers. It's now on its own power. There's no more hold time because there's no more margin on these batteries. So we'd have to recycle back to T-minus 10 to recharge if we had a hold. One minute. Right now, the rocket does not know what the T0 is, but coming up at T-minus 33 seconds, control shifts from the ground launch sequencer to the rocket's onboard autonomous launch sequencer, or ALS. The rocket will count itself down, but honor any holds that could come from the ground. Now, shortly after liftoff, Houston will take control of the rocket, and my colleague Gary Jordan will take over commentary. ALS, go for ALS. Great call out. The rocket is on its own. 4 brave explorers ready to ride the most powerful rocket NASA has ever launched. Sound suppression water is flowing. And here we go. 10, 9, 8, 7, RS-25 engines. 4, 3, 2, 1. Booster ignition. And liftoff. The crew of Artemis 2 now bound for the moon. Humanity's next great voyage begins.
Good roll pitch. Roll pitch.
Houston, now enjoying the flight of integrity on the Artemis mission route.
Get to the AFT
Target milestone. As you told you, since some good performance. Speaks much system course safety. Integrity. 3 miles in altitude. Traveling more than 1,200 miles per hour. Mission last time, passing 1 minute, approaching max Q.
And we have the rapid clear.
Communication signal transport confirmed as integrity and its crew go supersonic. Approaching 90 seconds into the Artemis 2 mission. Integrity is 14 miles an hour, 8 miles downrange, traveling more than 2,600 miles per hour. One minute 50 seconds of mission elapsed time. Standing by for main engine throttle down to 85%, and the solid rocket booster separation expected at the 2-minute 9-second mark. See throttle down. Confirmed separation. Main engine throttling up. Guided converge.
Guidance converged, performance nominal, upper stage RCS ready. Integrity SM priming complete. SM priming complete.
2 minutes 45 seconds of mission elapsed time into the Artemis 2 mission. Thrusters on integrity and upper stage confirmed in a ready state, and its service module fairing separation. Three minutes into the flight, integrity 49 miles in altitude, 78 miles downrange, now passing 5,000 miles per hour. Standing by for launch board system jettison.
Houston integrity, good last jettison, great deal. Copy jettison, Kimiko 8.02. We see you sail aboard, Sam. And you can have you loud and clear on Teeter's at the common line. Outstanding, Stan, we have this.
3 minutes 50 seconds into the flight of Artemis 2, Wiseman, Glover, Cook, and Hansen cross the boundary to space with good comm checks. GPS signals acquired after last jettison now working on internal checks by accuracy. Flight dynamics officer analyzed the time of main engine cutoff, confirmed at 8 minutes 2 seconds, time of MECO.
Integrity, GPS processing. Finish that. Alright, so we're headed right at it.
Approaching 5 minutes into the flight, Commander Reed Wiseman confirms he has visuals of his destination. GPS guidance, navigation, and control software finishes internal checks and sends to navigation channels.
Integrity, 3 engine press. 3 engine press.
On time
time now passing 5 minutes, 20 seconds of mission elapsed time into the Artemis 2 mission. At this point, 3 good main engines are all that's needed to carry integrity to a nominal main engine cutoff target. Though at this time, we're saying 4 good engines here in Mission Control Houston. Integrity, 75 miles in altitude, 330 miles downrange, approaching 10,000 miles per hour.
Integrity, looking good at 6 minutes. Same on board, stand.
Good trajectory and engine performance. Booster officer will soon report the shutdown plan to Flight Director Judd Freeling, expected at the 7-minute mark. Integrity, 78 miles in altitude, 460 miles downrange.
Integrity, expect nominal shutdown. Integrity copies, nominal shutdown.
Six minutes, 40 seconds of mission elapsed time. Shutdown plan is as expected. Again, the time of MECO was confirmed at 8 minutes, 2 seconds into the flight.